today's video, I thought that I would just do a kind of update of like my go-to makeup. So when it's not quarantine, when we're not in isolation, when I'm out in the real world, when I'm living my life, this is kind of the makeup that I pretty much go to at the minute. The first product that I always use is the Tarte Maracuja Oil. I will pretty much like get out of the shower and do my little skincare routine, and then I will come before I sit down to do my makeup and just kind of pop this all over my face, just a few drops. And I just like to kind of really work it into my skin. It looks a little bit insane, but whatever. I just give it like a few minutes to kind of sink into my skin. Because the oil can leave the skin looking a little bit shinier, if you like that dewy finish, then this is perfect. You wouldn't really need to do any other steps. But I like to have more of a matte complexion. So I'm going to go in all over on my face with the Oil and Shine Control from Smashbox. And then in any areas where I have a little bit more texture, so on my face here, I have more like open pores. And I also have like a little wrinkle here that I like to fill in. And any area that I want to be kind of like extra mattified, like my nose and my chin, any area that would get oily, I like to use the Pore Filler from NYX. I've honestly been using this for years now and I still use it pretty much every day. So I just kind of press it, I kind of like press it into the pores and then kind of push it back. Because what I'm trying to do is like fill the pores, if you know what I mean. And I just give it a little once over on my nose, push a little bit into that wrinkle there, and bring a little bit on my chin as well. With these like super heavy pore filler style like silicone based primers, you don't need to apply these on your whole face. Like I would never get the pore filler and use it on my entire face because you just don't need to. Like this area of my face is not very porous, neither is my forehead, so I don't need to use it in that area. So what I normally do in my own makeup routine, and I actually do this on other people as well, I tend to work from like forehead and brows down. So I'll put a little bit of foundation on my forehead first, then do my brows and eyes, and then finish off my skin. My go-to foundations are these two. This is the Urban Decay All Nighter foundation, and then the Tarte Tape Shape. Is that right? What is it called? Face Tape. Same. I literally just get a tiny bit for my forehead. Don't need a lot because I have a fringe anyway and it covers everything. But you know, if the wind came and blew my fringe up and there was like no foundation on my forehead, then I'd be mortified. So I put a little bit on, but I don't need too much coverage like I said because my fringe covers that anyway. So now I'm moving on to brows. Now I have a full brow. I try and like kind of brush them up and then out, if that makes sense. And then I always use the Kat Von D Super Brow in the shade Blonde. This product can get a little bit dry. If it does, I like to use the Inglot Duraline in there. I'll just put one little drop just to kind of ease it up a little bit. So I'm just kind of like shaping out that brow. But I try not to use too much of the pomade. Like I try and keep my brows looking quite natural now. I don't want them to look too drawn on, if that makes sense. So once I'm pretty much happy with like the shape of the brows, I then go in with a little bit of soap brow. So I just get this and spray like a little bit of setting spray in there, and then I get a little spoolie and just kind of lather it up. I like to brush this through the hairs, starting at the root, and I like to bring the hairs kind of up and then out. The reason why I don't use this product first is because I like to have a lot of definition in the shape before I go in and fluff up the brows. So you can see when I'm fluffing them, I'm kind of almost bringing them like this way. So now I'm kind of happy with like the fluffiness of them. I just go in with the NYX Tinted Brow Mascara. The one that I'm using is Blonde, and it's slightly lighter than the pomade that I use. And I like to use a lighter one because I feel like it kind of highlights the hair, if you know what I mean. Once I've used that, I use this brush with no product on it just to kind of carve out the top shape. And then I like to grab a little bit of concealer and just start to carve out like underneath. So I'm just really defining that shape. I feel like my eyebrows look so much better now I've let them grow in. Because before, I would draw like my eyebrows really high up, but then because I've got hooded eyes and I don't have a lot of lid space, it would make it look even smaller because my eyebrows would be bloody high up here and I'd have like no lid space. It just, to be honest, it didn't look good. I looked at some of my old videos recently and it does not look nice. To prime my eyes, I just use the same concealer that I used underneath my brow, and I just take it on a kind of flat blending brush. Surprisingly, the palette that I reach for the most and that I pretty much use every day is actually this House Labs palette. I say surprisingly because when Gargoyle launched the first products, I wasn't that blown away and I wasn't that interested. I'll be honest, I wasn't blown away. When I was back home in the UK at Christmas, Ellis gave me a bunch of the House Labs products. I was so wrong. Those liquid eyeshadows are insane. They are amazing. And this palette, girl, it does it for me. It's very simple, very basic, very wearable. I think it's just a really great palette and the shadows in it are really nice, really easy to use. I think if you're not mad on doing makeup but you want a nice palette, this is definitely one to go for because you will pretty much end up using all of these shades. First thing I do, I just kind of take the lightest shade and I buff it all over my lid. If I'm doing just like smoky eyes and stuff, I like to set the base with a little bit of powder. Next, I pretty much always go in with this medium to dark brown shade and I just pop that on the corners, and I'm not super like neat with this. You know, I don't spend a lot of time blending it in and stuff. My goal is to just get the placement of the colour on there. So you see, look, doesn't look blended out at all. And then I'm just taking like a little bit of a fluffier brush and I dip into this shade. And then this is where I do my blending. And then I like to go in with an even like fluffier blending brush and mix the lightest colour and the light brown together. So I mix like the cream and the light brown just to smoke that up even higher. Then I like to go in with the brush that I used for the concealer on my eyes and I just kind of define a crease a little bit. I'm not doing a cut crease, it's just, I keep it kind of smoky, but just give myself, you see, I give myself a little bit more lid space. So you'll be left with something like this. So it's not really a cut crease, I'm not taking it up too high. I'm just giving myself a little bit more of a lighter area to work on. And then I like to go all over my lid with this shade. So it looks like it's gold, but it actually has like a kind of reflect of like pink in it. And you'll see as well, look, when I put it on the eye, it's not too over the top. It's not like a super foiled shadow. And again, I'm not too precise with my placement of it either. Look, you can see it has some sparkle to it, it has some shimmer, but it's not like pew. It's not like OTT foil. Or sometimes I will just leave my lid plain and just dust over that concealer colour with the cream from this palette, like the cream shade. To finish off this eye, I kind of just take the brush from earlier, no extra product on it, and just blend through the eye. And that's pretty much it for now. So I will just put on a little bit of liner and some lashes. I don't do wing liner anymore. Once I've got my lashes and my liquid liner on, I like to take the Marc Jacobs gel pencil. Again, this is like hands down one of my favourite products. What I like to do is kind of, I look a bit insane, like I look up like this and I tight line my upper waterline. So you know how some people will take black on this waterline, I do that but on the upper waterline. The reason being is you won't be able to see it on camera, but when you're up close, I can see this little strip of like skin underneath the lashes. If you put a little bit of pencil on there, you don't see that. And then once I've done that, I like to take a little bit of that pencil in the corner, and then I take this brush and I just kind of smoke it out a little bit, because I like to wear liner still, and I like to wear my liner quite thick, but I don't really like having a big wing anymore. We did the forehead, did the brows, did the eyes, so I'm going to move on to my skin. The colour corrector I use for under my eyes is Cover FX. I just blend it in with my fingers. Obviously the way that I do my own makeup and the way that I do clients' makeup is very different, but I like to use my fingers because I feel like it just warms the product up a little bit and just kind of sinks into the skin a little bit nicer. Moving on to foundation, same foundation I was using earlier. I kind of do like 2 small pumps of the Urban Decay one and like 1 little pump of the Tarte one, and then I mix them together because they're not quite the same shade. Like if I use the Tarte one on its own, I look a bit too yellow, and if I use the Urban Decay one on its own, I look a bit too pale, so I like to mix them because I ain't trying to look ghostly white anymore like I used to. If you have been watching my videos for a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it's just not the one. Where I need a bit extra coverage, I'll just slap on a little bit more, but you'll see, like, I don't really spend ages doing my own makeup. If I weren't filming this, I could have got this done in like 30 minutes. Even if I'm like working on set and the call time's super early, like I was working on a commercial recently, we had to be there at 4 AM, so the call time was 4 AM, but because it was in a different emirate, we had to drive there, and it was in the middle of the desert. So call time was 4 AM, we had to leave the house at around like 2:40, so before 3, and I still got up and did this makeup. Honey, I don't care if it's 1 AM, like I'm getting up and I'm doing this makeup, standard. I like to go in and do a bit of cream contouring, and I always use the Kat Von D palette to do that. And I also use the Kat Von D brush as well. I don't go crazy with this, you'll see it's literally going to take me like 30 seconds. I just kind of do this as a base so that when I go over in powder, I don't have to use as much product, basically. Then for my under eyes, always use the Tarte Shape Tape, best concealer in my eyes. For under my eyes, I love using the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, but I don't have that at the minute, so the next best thing to that is this Tarte powder. I like to kind of give myself some Alyssa Edward face, like, I'll explain why I'm doing this in a minute, and I'll look up as well. So the reason why I do that ridiculous face, I do not want to set the concealer if there's any creases or wrinkles. If I kind of stretch out my face when I'm setting it, I'm not going to get those creases, if you get what I mean. I use a different colour powder under my eyes because I like to have this area to be quite highlighted. So for the rest of my face, I actually use the Kat Von D powder. I just take my beauty blender and kind of pat in powder on the rest of my face. I feel like if you have textured skin or oily skin, applying powder with a sponge is much better. Much better. It's like if you have a lot of texture, it's just, you kind of push in the powder into your skin. Girl, I am giving you lot too many tips. I mean, I have my own online classes now, so I should not be giving away this much tea, but you know, it's the kind of girl I am. Very generous, very sharing. So now I'm all powdered up like a little powdery donut. I like to go in with the Kat Von D powder contour palette. I take it on quite a big brush, and I like blend it up into my temples as well. For blush, I use the Tarte Captivating Blush. I like to use blush, not so that I have like pink cheeks, but I feel like it just brings some warmth to the face, you know? I also like to use a little bit of a bronzer. I just kind of go between where I've put the blush and kind of bring it up into the contour. I'm using a MAC one. I actually don't buy products from MAC anymore really, because obviously they test on animals. So I haven't really been a massive MAC supporter for a long time. I still have this product, so I may as well use it. I am vegan now, but whatever products I have that are not vegan, these are not products that I've recently purchased. These are products that I'm just getting through. So when it comes to my kit, my actual professional makeup kit and my personal makeup, not all of it is going to be vegan. This is something that I am going to try and do along the way, but I'm not just going to go and throw away all my products. It's just stupid. So I will still be using my non-vegan products. Alright, so for highlight, I go in with this Amrezy Anastasia Beverly Hills one. You'll see in a minute why I don't use a smaller brush, because I'll use a smaller brush in a second. But for now, I just kind of get like the base colour on. It's not too gold, it's quite neutral. So now I'm going in with like a smaller brush, and I'm using Pearl from Becca and intensify a certain area. So I'll come in like a little C shape, do my nose. I know a lot of people don't like to do the nose, but I do. Now my skin is done, I come back and finish off my eyes. I pretty much always do this, it sounds strange, but whatever lip liner I'm going to wear, I normally put it in my waterline as well. So I'm using the Urban Calf liner from NYX. So the last time that I used this was probably on my lip. So even if it's sharp, I always give it a sharpen first, just to kind of clean it off a little bit. And then I like to just run that on my waterline. And from the outer corner of my eye, I just bring a little bit in. And then I take the brush that I used earlier and I just kind of buff it out, because it's still got a bit of shadow on it. See? Like it's smoked out, but there's not loads of product building up. On the inner corner of my eyes, I always use this pigment. It's called Light Year and it's from Makeup Geek. It's just beautiful. I like to give my bottom lashes a little something something. So for my lips, I'm going to go in with the Urban Calf liner. And then on top of that, I'm using the Uncuffed lipstick from Fenty Beauty. Alright, so this is my final look. This is just pretty much my go-to everyday kind of makeup. I know this is not everyone's idea of everyday makeup. This is probably most people's like going out makeup, but I like to wear a lot of makeup, so there we go. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!